Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. 90-Day Fiancé's Jasmine revealed her pregnancy to Gino on Happily Ever After, and it was absolutely more brutal than I expected. Knowing ahead of the season that Gino Palazzolo and Jasmine Pineda would end their marriage certainly lessened the blow of watching it unfold on 90-Day Fiancé, Happily Ever After. I was prepared for Gino's temporary fling with Natalie, and even the fight that went down between her and Jasmine. What I wasn't prepared for was her pregnancy reveal scene to Gino, which was way harder to watch than I expected. 90-Day Fiancé viewers first officially learned Jasmine was pregnant when she walked out on stage during the Last Resort Season 2 tell-all, looking pretty far along. She was confident and somewhat cocky about her new relationship with Matt Branasterianu, but the latest scene in HEA showed she was far less confident about it all when it happened. Jasmine invited Gino to Matt's house to reveal she was moving to Florida, but that wasn't all. After I speculated that Jasmine knew she was pregnant with Matt's child the previous week, she told Gino that she was expecting and wanted to let him know before he found out from tabloids, other cast members, or ahead of the tell-all for the Last Resort. Gino congratulated her, and after a little bit of talking went out the door. It seemed like a normal response, but Jasmine knew better. She began to cry and watched him pull away out the window, explaining that was the worst reaction she could have gotten. She knew that when Gino is at his calmest in the face of news like that, it only meant he would have a more extreme reaction when he was in private. I'll admit that as a long-time 90-Day Fiancé fan, I haven't had a ton of sympathy for Gino throughout his journey with Jasmine. He knew she was a jealous person throughout their relationship. Yet he continued to push the envelope by sending pics of her to his ex, and by having a bachelor party despite her specific instructions not to. All that said, once they were officially married, it seemed as though Gino had put his past behind them and was ready to start a family with Jasmine. They announced their intention to start trying for children shortly after their marriage. But months later, they were no longer sleeping together, and her situation with Matt began. To see Gino cry and finally admit for the first time that he felt his whole relationship was a lie was brutal. It got even worse when Jasmine admitted she knew the news broke Gino's heart because he hoped with their marriage he'd finally have a child of his own. I'll admit I got a little misty-eyed on the couch watching it all unfold, which I certainly didn't expect to happen with this storyline at all. Watch 90-Day Fiancé and many other great movies and shows over on Max. HBO Max is the streaming home to all things DC and more. Plans start at $9.99 a month, basic with ads. An HBO Max subscription gives you access to thousands of movies, shows, documentaries, and more. There are dramatic reveals, and then there are Jasmine-level reveals. If you've watched 90-Day Fiancé, Happily Ever After, you already know that Panama's firecracker doesn't believe in quiet, soft-spoken conversations. Every emotion is amplified, every syllable stretched to its most theatrical limit, and every truth bomb lands like a thunderclap in the middle of dinner. But last night's episode gave us something beyond the usual Jasmine chaos. She revealed to Gino that she's pregnant, and the way she did it was so much more brutal and shocking than anyone could have expected. Let me set the scene. We open with Jasmine in confessional mode, her trademark lashes fluttering and her voice teetering between triumph and simmering rage. She whispers, "Gino doesn't know yet, and I don't know how he will take it, but he will know tonight." From that very moment, viewers knew we were in for a storm. Instead of sitting him down for a tender heart-to-heart, Jasmine orchestrated the reveal like it was a battle strategy. She chose their kitchen, a place where Gino already looks perpetually nervous, fumbling with his baseball cap while she yells about his portion sizes, and she waited until dinner was served. The atmosphere was already tense. She had been picking at him all day about his lack of romance, his boring fashion, and his robotic way of showing affection. By the time Gino sat down, fork in hand, he looked like a man about to walk into a courtroom rather than a romantic meal. Then, Jasmine slid an envelope across the table. "Open it!" she demanded, her accent sharp, her eyes blazing. Gino hesitated, probably expecting a bill or a visa form he forgot to fill out. But as he peeled open the envelope, his face drained of color. Inside was an ultrasound picture, grainy, black and white, with the unmistakable outline of a tiny being. "I am pregnant," Jasmine announced, arms crossed, chin lifted in challenge. "And this is your baby." Now, on any other show, this moment would cue tears, hugs, and soft music swelling in the background. But on Happily Ever After, and especially with these two, the soundtrack was more like the screech of a car crash. Gino stammered, What? Pregnant? But we weren't even, we used. His voice cracked under the weight of his confusion. Jasmine leaned forward, eyes narrowing like daggers. "Do not insult me, Gino. Do not stand there and make excuses. This is happening, whether you are ready or not." What made the scene brutal wasn't just the timing or the delivery, but the emotional battlefield Jasmine created around the reveal. Instead of inviting him into the joy and fear of impending parenthood, she framed it as a test, one he was already failing. "Do you know what it means to me?" she demanded, voice rising. "I left my family, my sons, my country to be here with you. And now I am bringing a child into this world. And you sit there with your stupid hat doubting me." Gino, true to form, pulled at his baseball cap as if it could shield him from her words. His nervous laugh trickled out, making everything worse. "I'm not doubting you, Jasmine. I'm just surprised. This is big news." "Surprised?" she shrieked. "You are not surprised, Gino. You are terrified. You want to escape, like you always do. But you cannot escape this. You cannot escape me. You are the father." The whole exchange was so raw, so unfiltered, that viewers at home were probably clutching their couch cushions. Social media lit up instantly, with fans torn between sympathy for Gino's deer-in-headlights reaction and admiration, or fear, of Jasmine's no-nonsense declaration. But the brutality didn't end there. Jasmine then launched into a passionate monologue about her sacrifices and the expectations she now placed on him. "You think marriage is difficult? Now you must become a father, a real man. No more excuses about money. No more hiding behind your boring job. This child will need everything, and I will not accept less. Do you hear me?" It was like watching a courtroom cross-examination where the jury had already delivered a guilty verdict. And yet, underneath the fire and the fury, there were flashes of vulnerability. Her voice cracked when she mentioned her other sons in Panama and how guilty she felt about not being there with them. "Maybe this baby is God giving me another chance," she whispered, her eyes glistening. For just a moment, the tough exterior melted, and we glimpsed the softer Jasmine who just wants love, stability, and a family. But as quickly as the softness came, it vanished. She turned her glare back on Gino, daring him to say the wrong thing. What made the reveal so brutal, so unforgettable, was that Jasmine didn't give Gino space to process. Every second was filled with her intensity, her demands, her raw emotion. Instead of letting the news breathe, she weaponized it. And honestly, that's so Jasmine. Gino's response, to his credit, was surprisingly steady once he recovered from the initial shock. He reached across the table, his hand trembling, and said, "Jasmine, I'll do my best. I want to be there for you. For us. For the baby." Did that calm her? Not really. She gave him a long, suspicious stare before finally allowing the tension to crack, just slightly. "We will see, Gino. Actions, not words." Cut to confessional, where Jasmine dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. "I don't know if he will be a good father," she admitted, her voice soft for once. "But I hope. I really hope." Meanwhile, Gino, in his separate confessional, tugged at his cap and muttered, "This is a lot. But I'll step up. I have to." It was brutal. It was messy. It was classic 90-day Fiancé. And honestly, it was everything viewers signed up for and more. The reveal wasn't a sweet sitcom moment. It was a raw collision of two worlds, two personalities, and two sets of expectations crashing into each other at full speed. Jasmine turned pregnancy news into a dramatic showdown, and Gino, as always, was left scrambling in the storm. But love them or hate them, this is why Jasmine and Gino remain one of the most unforgettable couples in the franchise. Because when life hands Jasmine big news, she doesn't just share it, she performs it. And last night, she delivered one of the most jaw-dropping scenes of the season.